Hello everybody, and what is going on? This is Wyrd here, and I am bringing you a game from the GSL World Championship Qualifiers, European style. It's going to be Mana, the blue Protoss here in the lower left, going up against Vortex, the purple Zerg in the upper right. And of course the map we are on is Cloud Kingdom, the wonderful S-shaped map that is probably one of the most balanced maps that is in the current tournament and ladder map pool. Everybody loves it. I certainly love playing on it and casting on it, and we should have an exciting game for us here today. Obviously, these are two European powerhouses. Mana most recently took first place in the Electronic Sports World Cup, or ESWC for short, knocking out 4GG, or knocking him, I guess, into second place, 2-0, snagging a cool $20,000, and probably feeling like king of the world on top of it. And his opponent is Vortex, a European Zerg who is incredibly strong. Of course, the brother of Lucifron performed very well at WCS Europe, taking second place, losing to Stefano there in the finals, and also placing as a semifinalist in IEM Cologne. So both these guys have recent titles under their belts. If not titles, I guess accomplishments at the very least, and this should be a great game for us here today. Of course, this is the GSL World Championship qualifiers, the European qualifiers. So it's a lot on the line. It's a lot of pressure. It is a best of 3. However, this is just a single game from it. And we'll see exactly how it turns out here. Of course, Mana is going to be going for a Forge Fast Expand play. Vortex going to be going pool before hatch, something he stylistically likes to do. I rarely see a hatch before pool from Vortex, if ever. It's safe, and there's really nothing too wrong with it. Mana being very annoying here with this probe, making sure that the income of Vortex is slow just as much as it can be, because, like I said, a lot's riding on the line. These guys are going to put forth absolutely every effort they can, and Mana will continue to harass Vortex here with this probe. Going to try to work on blocking Vortex, bringing down 2 drones, and really he's not losing anything until he gets up past 300 minerals. At that point, the blocking is official, and he is wasting time. We'll see if Mana's able to block. He's getting in towards the back, and Vortex is just going to be able to lay down his hatch. Of course, they had to pull an extra drone off there, losing a little bit of mining time, but not too big of a deal, not too big at all. Should be able to deal with that just fine. Mana, meanwhile, going for that Forge Fast Expand, and of course, here on Cloud Kingdom, it is very nice because it's very simple. It's a straight line, put a pylon here, forge here, gateway here, and all of a sudden you've got yourself a nice wall with only a single hole for a zealot, so you don't have to break down any of your own buildings to get out. Of course, the downside of that is if a mailing bust comes, you have a very vulnerable portion of your wall here. Pylon has very few HP compared to a gateway or a forge, but Vortex plays normal almost all the time, standard I should say. Very, very rare to see an all-in from him. I'm sure Mana's fully aware of this, so feels pretty safe with this pylon indeed. Vortex is going to be going for that normal fast third without gas. Now we have 4 lings from Vortex coming up here, and since Mana went Nexus first, he is not going to have his cannon up quite in time to deny this. He's going to be forced to put a pylon up here. Notice that Vortex's Overlord is here. He was able to scout, saw the Nexus first, knew there was a slight window for him to get inside, and he went for it. Nothing wrong with that. Of course, Mana was prepared to block. Got away with it. Should cancel this pylon. There we go. And, no love lost, no damage done, really. Forcing a few extra minerals out. Now, Vortex is going to use these links for what they are originally intended for, which is map control. Getting this vision, keeping one around the front of your opponent's base to check for the third here as well, and one to find this sneaky probe. Looks like Vortex is looking around for it. Mana going to pop that probe in there, get a scout on the third. Very important to get a confirmation on the third base as a Protoss player. Make sure, of course, that your opponent is not 2-base all-inning you with roaches or banelings or anything of that sort. And the probe is going to sneak away from the queen there, but this link should be able to clean it up, and there it goes. So now the map presence is back to Vortex. His Overlord sees that the +1 has been started here for Mana. Now, stylistically, Mana has a lot of options, however he wants to follow up. Of course, you generally either are going to put pressure on your opponent or try to be very defensive and take a fast third, then maybe put some pressure on after that. We'll see what Mana decides to do here, but your options are obviously numerous. You could go Stargate, you could go Gateway pressure, usually with a fast +1. A Protoss will decide to go for some gateway pressure. We'll see if that's the case here for Mana. There's also Robo opportunities, and if you get a Robo, you can 2-base all in, which, of course, very popular, very strong with a 2-base Immortal all-in with the Sentries, with the Warp Prism. Something that is very hard for Zergs to hold off, and this map is a good map for that. And, of course, you can just be standard, do a little Immortal Sentry pressure, or take your third, whichever you choose. Vortex, meanwhile, is going to be taking 3 gas a little bit later instead of those 2 gas early on. Amounts to the same thing. Just another stylistic choice. He's going to be able to get his lair and his speed up. Looks like he has started that Roach Warren. up here in his main. So he'll be moving into a safer mid-game. Nothing too crazy here from Vortex. He has an interesting style of ZVP, actually, in the games I've seen from him. He goes for Roach Baneling drops. Well, usually Baneling drops. Roach is on the ground, Baneling's in the Overlords. And it can be useful for breaking a third base, but hold that thought because we're going to have some pressure here on the third. It looks like a Zealot and Stalker coming in here, and really good drone control here from Vortex. He's going to be able to save most of those drones. A couple of them do go down, and this Queen could be in a little bit of trouble. Oh, he's getting the surround on it. He's going to pull that away, but this Queen's only got one shot left, and she is going to go down. And that was not a bad trade for Mana at all, getting a couple drones as well as a Queen for only a single Zealot, and of course without speed being done, this Stalker is going to be able to escape. We are going to see Mana here did lay down a Robo before these gateways, so the Robo is up and running, and we are going to see his gateways. Now, he's starting with an Observer here, so it's very likely he's not going to all-in. With the all-in, you will see Immortals Chrono boosted out immediately. You see a plus more armor coming out here, though, and that is something some people like to mix into their style, but two Observers, no, definitely not going for the all-in. So, looks like Mana's going to be playing a bit defensive for now. Vortex, meanwhile, has begun his lair in his main, operating off that 3 gas right now, so he can get Roach speed, he can move into a normal game. And as I was saying earlier, he has tended to like a very cool style with the Baneling drops used to bust the third once his opponent gets a third base down. It can be very tough for Protoss to deal with, especially if they go sentry heavy, because it's very hard to run from Baneling drops, and if you force field the units away, you're generally force fielding yourself into a corner, which is perfect for those Banelings to just drop right on top of you. We'll see if Vortex decides to go for something like that. I personally hope he does, because it's really, really cool. But only time will tell. Meanwhile, a lot of Zerglings out here for Vortex. Mana has laid down a third Nexus, so he's going to be playing very defensive. He's going to use Sentries and Immortals to be very cost-effective and cover this large amount of space with force fields. Defend thusly. However, a lot of links coming in here for Vortex, but Mana does have a pretty sizable arm here, so it should be okay. Speed just finishing for Vortex there. But it looks like he's going to swing around the front. Mana does have a probe in the wall, but that'll die pretty quickly. He's going to need to warp something in. His army a little bit out of position to force field there. And it looks like he's going to get a couple Zealots in here, so that's not going to be too bad there. Vortex going to pull back and really not lose too much. Meanwhile, he is rallying some Roaches forward, so obviously he got the scout on this early third, and he really does want to break that. You don't want to let your opponent get away with an early third if you can help it. And it looks like Vortex is going to be coming here, working on the rocks. Mana going to be walling off here with a couple of gateways. Meanwhile, the Observer getting a scout on, getting that lair timing. He knows exactly what's coming down. A couple Evo Chambers, Infestation Pit, looking very normal for Vortex as he's prepared to move into the late game. But right now, he really doesn't want to deny his opponent's economy. Now he has some Lings swinging in over to the third. The Mana has split his army very nicely. Some sentries here to hold this ramp, and the majority of the army over here to deal with any possible run-bys. The third Nexus is going to come up unharmed, and Vortex is going to retreat, and hey, if you can't take out your opponent's third, go ahead and take a fast fourth. Now the Infestation Pit is about to complete for Vortex, rather, so you can do things like Infested Terran busts on the third. It doesn't look like he's going for drops like I've seen in the past, so we're going for a more normal style. Ooh, except he is going for a rather quick lair. Started a little bit after 11 minutes there, so we'll see exactly what, or I'm sorry, not a lair, a hive. We'll see exactly what he does with that. Usually it does mean quicker Broodlords, as that is the Tier 3 army of choice, and we're going to have an engagement here in the center of the map. Actually a beautiful catch from Mana. Might lose this Immortal, but no, he pulls it back, and actually gets quite a few kills there. I don't think he lost a single thing. Take a look at the units lost tab. Resources lost, the Zerg is about 1,000 behind. And taking this fast fourth along with this fast hive is going to put Vortex in a tough position. Army supply pretty much dead even right now. He's throwing down a bunch of emergency spine crawlers, but they take quite a while to complete. And Mana could be in a good position to take out this fourth base. Vortex going to immediately lose 2 of those spines, cancel the rest of them. And oh, really good positioning here for Mana back into the corner where the force fields will be the most effective. He takes out that hatchery, and that is a pretty big win for the Protoss player. Ooh, this Immortal is getting a little bit feisty, does not want to be left out there alone. Hopefully Mana manages to pull him back. We'll see if his life story is actually a short one. Looks like he's going to be pulled back there, but will Vortex let it get away? Mana's going to reunite and try to save this Immortal. Oh my god, the humanity. Oh, it looks like he's going to save it. That is one lucky Immortal, folks. Now, Mana is moving on to a Stargate as well as that Robotics Bay tech. If we take a look into the main, he has not seen the Hive. He does know the Infestation Pit timing, but he is not certain that his opponent is going for a fast Hive. And usually in conjunction with the fourth, one might not do that. You see here, Vortex is going to be moving up toward the center of the map. Going to try to put some pressure on. He has 7 Infestors out now. Pathogen glands were researched. He's got plenty of energy on them, and he is definitely looking to take down this third. Will he be able to, though? Army supply 64 to 89. The Protoss is certainly capable of holding. It's all going to come down to these force fields and what Vortex decides to do with these infestors. Pretty good force fields there from Mana, but he actually lets a lot of Zerglings in, and his sentries are exposed at the front. A lot of them going to be taken out, and a ton of infested Terrans have been dumped onto the third. That is a lot of DPS that Mana might not be able to deal with. He might be able to save this Nexus, though. Vortex coming in here with a lot of army. Most of the Lings are gone, however, and there's a lot of Mortals left to deal with these Roaches, but there's so much Infestor energy. He's going to be able to dump so many Infestor Terrans. The Roaches taking good shots at the Nexus. Shields going to go down soon. Is he going to be able to get this Nexus? Is he going to focus the Nexus or go for the army? It looks like he is turning those Infestor Terran guns on the Nexus. The HP getting so low. Is he going to take it out? It looks like, yes, that Nexus is going to go down. And that is an unfortunate loss here for Mana. Now we do have a Warp Prism here at the center of the map. Socket produced from that robotics facility, but did not follow it with the camera. But it is up there sitting there, ready to warp in, ready to do some damage whenever Mana is prepared for it. Interesting spot here. Of course, won't be scouted by anything on the low ground, I believe. Not actually sure if that is technically a high ground spot or not. I want to say it is, but the Flyer Helper is actually landing on the low ground, so a little bit confusing. But I'm assuming since Mana put it there, it is a low ground spot. Now or a high ground spot rather. We are going to see Vortex here go for the Greater Spire. More Infestors coming out here, getting a good army, and he is going to be getting up this fourth now. He should have time to get these Spine Crawlers down, and this is going to be a comfortable position for the Zerg, especially having taken out Mana's third rather. Mana, however, double expanding to make up for that fact, and he's not going to be going for a pre-Hive timing here or anything. He's getting a Fleet Beacon down, which is just finished. Mothership started immediately, and we also have a Dark Shrine getting started somewhere in one of these bases. No, that's a pylon. Okay, here's the Dark Shrine. The Dark Shrine has begun. Looks like we're going to see a little bit of a Roach skirmish here at the fourth base, rather, going to take down a pylon, but he should be able to chase those away. Pretty much another probe kill for him there. Looks like Mana has warped in a few Zealots, but just looking to take out a base that actually is not there. These Stalkers are going to blink on top of these Roaches, and will he be able to get the pylon? No, not quite. Stalkers quick to eradicate those. Dark Shrine about halfway completed now, a little bit more, and we have Broodlords on the way here for Vortex. 4 Broodlords, 5 Broodlords morphing in. Of course, that number should climb. Of course, Greater Spire is complete, and this is going to be an interesting attack here. Most Zerg attacks, this is where his creep is spreading, so he's definitely going to attack here. This is a very good spot for the Zerg to attack from. Broodlords can hit the Nexus from the high ground, and Infestors can lock down this ramp and make sure nothing gets under those Broodlords. So this is going to be very hard for Mana to hold. This Warp Prism has gone into transport mode. We'll see if he decides to do any sort of harass. Right now we are going to see Vortex moving in. He's going to be assaulting the fourth now. The fifth hatchery is up, about halfway done. And if Mana can hold on to this fourth, he can move into a serious contention in the late game, but if he loses it, it's going to be very, very tough. Mothership is about to complete, but it's not going to have enough energy for Vortex quite yet. And we have a DT Warp-in that's going to be coming in to the third base of Vortex at the same time as this attack is going down. The Broodlords hitting from the high ground. DTs, we have a couple of Overseers morphing in. That DT is going to get a Queen kill. The other DT is going to start moving into the natural. There are only 2 DTs on the map. It looks like Mana is going to be pulling back here. And now it looks like he's getting ready to sacrifice that Nexus. Overseers have morphed. This first DT is going to get picked off. The second one going to meet a similar fate. The fourth Nexus for Mana is down, and he has been forced back into his third. Mothership at 75 energy, not quite ready to Vortex. And without that Vortex, it's going to be so hard to hold off the Zerg. 8 Broodlords up here. That is a lot of damage. Mana back from the corner. Spread, but of course that's an easily fungable army, and he's taking a lot of damage from those fungals. This is a high DPS. He's taking a lot of these Roaches and Infestors. Vortex is losing a lot, but if he can get this Nexus with this attack, it's going to be very strong, and the Mothership is so close to being able to Vortex, but it does go down. Meanwhile, Mana's Warp Prism moving into the main. Looks like he is going to go for a Warp and harass there, but does he need these resources at home? It looks like more and more Zerg flooding in. He has warped in a few Zealots into the main to try to work on these gas drones, maybe try to snipe some tech. Not quite enough to do really good damage here, and Mana might be able to save the Nexus, but his army is taking serious hits. The Zealots here in the main managed to take out a Queen, but with Roaches in the main, should be able to clean that up just fine, and we have a lot of Zerglings flooding in here. Only a few Broodlords remaining, but it looks like they are going to get the Nexus. Vortex's aggression so well timed. I'm going to flood in here with a bunch of Lings to counteract the Stalkers made to kill the Broodlords. Stalkers not doing very well against these Zerglings. They are going to be taken out, and the Warp Prism is under fire by the Queen. I don't think Mana's going to be able to get it out in time. And that Warp Prism is going to go down. Meanwhile, we have a ton of Blings flooding into the natural of mana, but he's in a good position to hold this off now. He should be able to at least stymie this attack. But he's lost a 3rd and 4th Nexus. I believe he's lost 3 Nexi total in this game. He's going to be relaying that 3rd down. Vortex's 5th base going up. Drone count at 60, sacrificing a lot, of course, for those Spine Crawlers, and losing a couple to Zealot Warpins. Total workers killed, 20 for Vortex, 11 here for mana. So the drone count for Vortex not particularly high, but his income is still beating his opponents because mana is really only mining off of a single base here. And the income is okay, but these minerals are running very, very low. They'll be out in just probably half a minute. And then Mana's going to be in serious trouble if he cannot hold this base. And I doubt Vortex is going to let him do it. We've got 3-3 on the way here for Vortex. These Lings, I believe I did see Adrenal Glands finish in the production tab there, and yes. So very powerful Lings, going to be the most fully upgraded version of Cracklings they can be very soon. And now we do have some more Broodlords morphing in. 3 more on the way. Doesn't quite have the bank to morph in more, but he will as soon as he's got those resources. And Mana again is going to double expand here to try to make up for any losses. Does Vortex see this Nexus? No, not quite yet. Looks like we are going to have a few Lings coming down here, and they might be able to scout it. Looks like they want to pick off this pylon first. Now, Mana does have another Mothership out. And it's at 70 energy, so it will definitely be able to Vortex by the time Vortex decides to move on to Mana. But will it be enough? The Archon count for Mana is 0, but he does have 4 High Templars, so he can get some Archon soon. And a good Archon toilet is a great way to come back into this game. The question is, will it be enough? We have a few Zealots here, possibly ready to go in and do some damage once he sees his opponent move out. And we do actually have another Warp Prism here as well, so he's going to load those up and try to go for a warp in or a drop, anything to delay his opponent from attacking. But Vortex has a lot of Spine Crawlers here, so he should be able to defend his 4th pretty well. 3rd might be a different question, but is it going to matter? Looks like Mana's Nexus is going to finish up right now, and Vortex moves in at this very moment. We have 8 Broodlords in the air right now and 11 Infestors. Right now the army supply 130 to 60, more than doubling his opponent. Looks like these Zealots have been dropped into the 3rd, but the Spine Crawlers in position to deal with these, and this Nexus is going to go down again as the Broodlings tear it apart. We have more Zealots getting warped in over at Vortex's 3rd base. But the Death Army of Vortex, the Broodlord Infestor with Cracklings and Roaches beneath it. He could be walking right into a Vortex, though. Is it going to be enough? Feedback's going down on the Overseers. Does not quite kill them. A couple Infestors going down as well. He does Vortex a lot of the army. I'm not sure if he even was able to get an Archon in there. He's going to try to take this out. Looks like a single Archon is going to make its way into the Vortex, but that might not be enough to take care of these Broodlords. That Vortex is going to pop, and the Broodlords are clustered. Archon trying to do some damage, but I don't think it's going to be enough, and that is it. GG. Mana is going to lose on Cloud Kingdom to Vortex with very well-timed aggression. The Zealots here were cleaned up by the Zerglings. He tried to delay him with the Warpins and the drops, but it was not quite enough. So good game there from both of these players. Really strong guys. I hope to see them face off again soon because this is a very even matchup that I think can produce some great games. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you at the next cast.